Hi, I'm Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about executive interviews and specifically the new rules on what to wear for an executive interview. I am of the mindset, although most of the time for an executive interview, you want to wear a traditional suit, blue or black suit, and the corresponding accessories. However, I'm of the mindset that you cannot assume that that's the best way to go without doing any research. And I encourage general applicants for any level interview for that matter, but specifically for an executive interview, to not assume that the traditional suit is the best way to go. So first, do your homework. Do some research on the company online. Look at employees online. Look at them on LinkedIn. Look at them on the corporate website. Look at them at maybe if they're showcasing the company in specific networking events, in online publications. So I would see that the employees in their element at work. If it's a local scenario and it's not a remote position, I mean, even drive by and just even if you sit outside for a half hour and see people going in and out of the building, if it's a unique building, you might be able to get a vibe of how people are dressing on the interview. And you definitely want, if everyone's in jeans, sometimes showing up in the starchy traditional suit, although it's appropriate for a generalized interview, event, for that specific interview, it can almost be too much and you're going to come across like you don't get their culture and they are going to think you don't get them. So do some homework. And then once you determine that you are going to do an interview attire that is different than the traditional suit, which will happen in some cases, I always want to say you want to err on the side of, if being a little bit overdressed, or a little bit more than everybody else. You want to look like you're the one that's trying the hardest in the room without trying too hard. So that's sort of the goal, because you don't want to come across, I think it would be awkward to sit in a room where everyone else is a little bit more dressed up than you and you're a little too casual. So if you're going to make a mistake, right, err on the side of being a little more formal than less, while still incorporating the research that you have discovered, through your process. Third, I would, whether it's corporate casual or the strict business attire, I would stick to simple, classic styles. Minimal ornamentation, minimizing your accessories, and just keep things simple and classic as a general rule. And this way, because you want when you come into your first impression and you're meeting different people as you're being, circulated around the office, if it's in the office, you want to make sure that you're making a good overall impression, but without your clothes making a bigger statement than you. You don't want your clothes to overstate or constantly draw attention to, the shirt you're wearing or the brooch you're wearing, or, you want the focus to be on you and your face and the conversation and the eye contact. And you don't want your attire to constantly be drawing the eye of your interviewer, nor do you want it to take your attention because you're uncomfortable and you're fidgeting. And, in a sense that then your attire becomes the focus of the conversation inadvertently because you're fidgeting and pushing and pulling and whatnot. So you want to make sure that your attire is classic. It's, I wouldn't say understated in a bad way, but it shouldn't be the biggest thing in the room, right? So that's I think the point of that point. So, and the fourth item is, consider the medium that you're doing your interview in. If you're meeting someone in person, doing maybe a stated print shirt, a subtle print shirt, with, a stately jacket that's solid would be fine, but maybe that print on a video interview is going to totally mess up how you're perceived on that interview, and draw the attention in a negative way. Typically for video interviews, you want to stick with solids. Check the background of your interview, location. Make sure you're not having anything inappropriate in the background or that in a bad way is dragging attention. But you want to make sure that you're not wearing really shiny, jewelry in I would say a video interview as well, because if lights may reflect and it can cause different, awkward little shines here and there. So, consider the medium. And obviously, if you're phone interviewing, it's not as important on what you're wearing. However, I do suggest dressing up for a phone interview as well, because you just feel better when you're dressed up and you got your game face on and and you look good. And it sort of exudes in your posture, exudes in your voice. That posture, comes through in your voice. And, so that's, and they always say smile because that can come through on a phone interview as well. But, I would suggest doing, proper interview or even business casual for the medium of a phone interview, because it just helps you convey yourself in a better way. So, but with that being said, anything in a visual way, if it's a working interview on a golf course, or if it's, sometimes I've had clients go on interviews with their prospective hiring manager, they're going on a run together. So, clearly you always want to be suitable to the occasion, but practical in that way. Again, making sure your attire isn't overstating your words, you want you to be the focus and your ideas and your personality and how you're going to help them solve problems, capitalize on opportunities. You want that to be the focus. So you want to make sure that your attire is allowing that to happen by not being the primary focal point. And, as a general rule, I also suggest, especially for corporate casual or anything super casual, like maybe you're going to a picnic or something like that, is always err on the side of casually elegant. I think, whether it's, again, the formal suit or something super casual, I think if you're on the side of, casually elegant, it just exudes a confidence. It exudes a competency as well, that you're, it's classic, and that to me put across that confident impression that you want to have with the people that you're interviewing, that you can maneuver these different situations, how to appropriately take care of yourself and present yourself, and that will then, from a halo effect a little bit, they will get an impression, directly or residually, that that competency and that confidence will take place if they're hiring you in the position that they're hiring you for. So those are the tips that I have for you today that are really a new way of looking at how you're going to dress on an executive interview. And so, I encourage you to incorporate these into your next interview prep. And if you find that you need additional help in coming up with attire for your next interview, or even your next networking event, or the conference that you're attending, if you're not sure how to put together the wardrobe that you'd like to put together for a particular event that you're going to, a conference that you're going to, we do have an interview mastery system service where we, in a short hour, we give you a direct, specific feedback on how you should conduct yourself, present yourself on the next interview or event that you're attending. So this way you can put forth the best interview first impression that you're looking to do in that particular situation. Again, although it's mainly for interviewing, we have had clients ask us to do this type of service for them when they're going on a convention or a conference, as well as for a networking event. So it's helpful in every respect, because you want to come across, again, that whole casually elegant, confident, and competent. And so your attire can exude that when it's done properly. So again, this is Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company. And if you're interested in our interview mastery system, you will see that link to make that investment down below. And if you like this video about executive interviewing and the new rules that you can consider when setting up your next interview, then I encourage you to like it, share it with someone who you feel can benefit from it, put any comments you have below the video there and below the description. And I read and reply to every comment, or you can email me at lr@chameleonresumes.com. And again, I read and reply to every email. And don't forget to subscribe. So this way you can get the next video that will come out next week. So again, Lisa Rangel, Chameleon Resumes, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.